and push ideas on them.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always had that. So there's some involvement. There's got to be some involvement, but actually taking direct roles, oversight of it, just because they've made it big in technology, I don't like that at all from what I'm seeing.
Okay. I would also like to ask you about AI safety, artificial intelligence safety, because I know that your thoughts on that have evolved throughout the years. So I wonder whether you feel more worried or more relaxed nowadays after the advent of AI chatbots like ChatGPT or any of the others. Are you worried about AI safety?
AI safety. Well, everybody notices AI has certain problems, so you should at least be aware of it. Everybody says AI should be regulated, but they just throw it out as a word because they're making AI. And I've said for years now how it should be regulated. You should know if you're reading something that came directly from AI, not from a human that interpreted it and put it in their own words. It's coming from AI. You should be told which AI, how was it trained, what sources on the internet was it trained on, and you should have citations like scientific articles in scientific journals, always have citations so you can look at a part of their article and click a number and you'll find out, oh, here's the research or here's the article that they took that from as they build their case. Those are citations. And that means on AI, I'd really like, if I got something I'm told is from AI, let me click on one phrase or one sentence and see where on the internet or wherever, some other net, it came from. And that would help me judge a little better, is it accurate or not? Is it the right thing? If you read something, we humans have more of an emotional feel. If we're expressing an idea, we know that it feels good or bad. We know how other humans will take it. And one of the things about that is if you get an AI report, it can be very complete and well written and proper grammar, but it's not necessarily the same thing that two different people would say. Three people. There are a lot of subjectivity and people are different. And trying to condense it all down and saying there's only one answer here. There's only one type of rule. I don't like that. I like more of a sharing. Everybody's putting their own ideas into things. Mm-hmm. So that's a problem to be.
ಅವಕಾಶ ಸಮೃದ್ಧಿಗೆ, ಅವಕಾಶ ಕಲಿಯೋಕೆ, ಅವಕಾಶ ಭಾರತದ ಟಾಪ್ ಕಂಪನಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ ಆಗುವ. ಇದು ಬದಲಾವಣೆಯ ಕಾಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈಗ ಯಾರೂ ಅವಕಾಶ ವಂಚಿತರಾಗಬಾರದು. ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನಲ್ಸ್ ಜೊತೆ ನೆಟ್ವರ್ಕ್ ಬೆಳೆಸಿ, ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಗಳ ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶನ ಪಡೆಯಿರಿ ಮತ್ತು ಬಿಸಿನೆಸ್ ಎನ್ವೈರನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಸ್ತವಿಕ ಜಗತ್ತಿನ ಅನುಭವ ಪಡೆಯಿರಿ. ಪ್ರೈಮ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ನ ರೌಂಡ್ 1 ರಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾರತದ ಟಾಪ್ ಕಂಪನಿಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲಾ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಹಾಗೂ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಟೆರಿಟರಿಗಳ ವಿವಿಧ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಶಿಪ್ ನೀಡಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ ರೌಂಡ್ 2 ನೊಂದಿಗೆ. ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಈಗ ಲೈವ್ ಇದೆ. ಹಿಂದೆ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಮತ್ತು ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ, ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್, ಆಯಿಲ್ ಮತ್ತು ಗ್ಯಾಸ್, ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಮತ್ತು ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರಿಂಗ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಇನ್ನಿತರ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಪಡೆಯುವ ಅವಕಾಶ ಗಳಿಸಿರಿ. ಪ್ರೈಮ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕನಸನ್ನು ನನಸಾಗಿಸುವತ್ತ ಮೊದಲ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆ. ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ ಪಡೆಯುವ ಅವಕಾಶ. ಲರ್ನ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್.
कैलोरीज तो हर बाइट में है, पर उनका इंटेक रिड्यूस करना is
maybe someday it might even have a little emotional feeling for, maybe a person rescues an animal. And I can cry when I read stories like that. And I don't think AI cries. So understand, I believe it in the A. I just don't believe in the I so much. All my life I was paying attention to the abilities of the brain that were much more capable than the speed of a computer. All my life. And when I went back to college I started Apple with only 3 years of college. And when I went back to college, I had to use a fake name because my name was well known. So my Berkeley diploma says Rocky Raccoon Clark. That's who I was. But I was a psychology major as much as anything. And I wanted to study the brain. And all I found out was we don't know how the brain's wired like we do electronic circuits. And we don't even know that our memories are stored in the brain. We have good reason to suspect it, but we can never find the memory. The strongest correlation you'll find I came up with 40 years ago You lose two things between the ages of 6 and 10 years old. You lose your childhood autobiographic memories, things that happened to you, and you lose your teeth in those years. And everybody knows memories aren't teeth. So I was just pointing out the books on memory are not, even to this day, just not complete enough we could take a memory. Because the whole idea is we want to duplicate a brain. We want to take a brain and figure out a way, maybe 1 trillion instances in software that equals a real human brain, not just what we call AI. And I was at a company once where the engineers figured out how to make a brain. It takes 9 months.
One thing that AI chatbots have got really good at is writing code.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think chatbots will replace software developers and, remote jobs? Sorry, guys, I know there are plenty of software developers here.
Give a real general description, have AI write a program and pass it on. I would want to inspect it and check it. It can be very helpful to me as a human to get what I need for my boss or my class in school. But it's just, I don't know. I'm like everyone else. Hold back, look at it, try to pass on what you think is good, and will the problems increase? Not to mention some of the problems with AI, the deep fakes. I hate spammers. I hate the people trying to get your passwords and take all your money. I hate all this. And now they have one more tool. They have AI, so they can do a better job. And AI can trick you into things, and that's a method I'm not for. I believe that things should be respected for their honesty. You can rely on them. You can count on them. And AI is already demonstrating that it hallucinates and makes things up, but you don't know when. If you just believe it, you're a sucker. I mean, I read jokes on the internet all the time, or I read a funny story about something that happened, and I pass it on to a list of 100 friends, and then I find out that it was made up. It wasn't real.
Yeah.
So humans can make mistakes
Speaking of which, do you think there should be more open source large language models?
Well, AI should be open source.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, everything should be open source in my mind. I mean, the principles behind... By the way, I'm one of the founders of the EFF, and those of you know what it's about. It's very much into privacy concerns, civil rights, and open source. But open source is just the ability to go back, improve things, take somebody else's knowledge and improve on it, find a bug in it, fix things. It's just, why keep it hidden? You're trying to keep a hidden advantage, so if you're lucky enough to be in the key position like a big company is, then other people can't intrude maybe patents and all that. I don't know. I believe in the right to repair. And I've stood up for it publicly many times.
There is another very big debate taking place at the moment, both in the US and in Europe, which is the one about working from home. There is the group of people who advocate for working from home and those who insist on returning to the office full-time. Which camp are you in?
Well, for me, COVID was the best thing ever. Because I have a life of traveling a lot of places and speaking like this, and during COVID, got to stay at home. My wife and I took 40 trips in the car to every national park in California, every corner of California, and we'd turn around and drive back. We could drive together and talk and listen to audiobooks and music, and we'd carry our 4 dogs with us, our children. That was just wonderful. So what started me off on this?
Yes, whether you are pro
Oh yes, yeah. So a lot of people discovered that they could be quite productive working at home, and it's convenient. The workers like it very much. Nowadays, the thing is, a company wants to have a management structure. Those at the top control the ones under them, control the ones down to the worker. You have bosses, you have managers in between. And what do they have if everybody's working at home? They have a lot more control if you're there in one spot. And there are certain things, certain types of communication and meetings that work out better in person. So I believe in the hybrid. The hybrid mode is good. Have certain days that everybody can be expected that's working together, can be expected to be together, and every day if they want it. But other days, they're to a certain amount of time, they can work from home or anywhere in the world. This has really turned out to be a boon that we never knew that it could work, and now we do.
You witnessed the transformation of Silicon Valley from a very nice place with fruit trees and nice homes to the world's epicenter of innovation. And I would like to hear from you about that, because Barcelona is on its own journey to becoming a global tech hub and is attracting lots of talent from many countries. Is it still necessary to move to Silicon Valley to make it as a global entrepreneur?
Oh no, for 10 or 20 years, people would always be asking around the world, oh, how do we have a Silicon Valley? Well, it has to grow organically, but now it's really not like there's one place in the world. The formula is there. People that have good ideas, start new companies, are innovative, and it's popping up in about at least a dozen places in the United States are popping up. High technology levels, about the same number of people working in technology as in Silicon Valley. And I don't think Silicon Valley is all that much necessary for anything new and dramatic in the world. It'll change the world. The next Uber doesn't have to come from Silicon Valley. And I like things to be shared. People have brains everywhere in the world. I like everywhere I go in the world. For those people to be able, wanting is more important than the knowledge. When I was a teacher for a long time, when I taught, the teacher always teaches correct knowledge. But if you can make the students want to learn, you cannot stop them from learning. I decided wanting is even more important.
Now that you mentioned that you were a teacher, what are your thoughts on the use of AI agents in education? AI agents.
AI agents?
In education.
In innovation?
In education.
What?
In education.
Oh, in education. AI agents in education. Oh, we should certainly include it in our higher education, K-12. Actually 10 to 13-year-olds, because it had been a goal of mine my whole life, just like having my own computer. And AI agents, first of all, when you're talking primary education, let's see how it goes.
One thing that has bothered me ever since I started writing about business, and particularly about startups, is the huge pressure that young entrepreneurs are under to raise capital investment since very early on. And I wonder whether, had you been under that type of pressure, were you be able to develop the Apple II computer?
Okay, young entrepreneurial-minded people. oh, I want to have my own company someday. I have a good thinking. Well, first of all, if you're going to start something, you better not just start what AI says. You better think of something more creative that hasn't been done yet. And you better do an excellent job. And that means you'd better have an engineer thinking out what you're going to make. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, don't just come out with a business plan and thinking, and we'll hire the engineers later. Get the engineers involved, and you'll think they're used to solving problems and finding alternatives better than any other class of people, and you should include them from the beginning. Also, if you're going to be starting a small company, maybe you're just in school still, in a university perhaps, you're going to need good business thinking that says, I'm going to keep track and make sure this business is making money. That's the most important thing. It's got to live, or it dies. Second, you'll need some good marketing, good abilities to conceive which ideas are good, which are bad, which are how good. What is the value of certain ideas? What is the competition like? Well, fit into place. That marketing thinking is very important. And third, you better have the engineering from the start. And don't just hold out and say, we'll hire the engineers because we're the smart ones with the idea. No, include the engineers from the start. And you got to have those three categories: business, marketing, engineering. They could be in one person. They could be in two people. They could be in three people, whatever it takes. And then respect the other disciplines. Let's say you're an engineer, a bright engineer, and you can create some program all on your own, some software. Don't think you are the whole key to what happens. Respect the marketing, respect the engineer, respect the legal, respect the accountants, respect operations that build things. Respect all the other categories. You're all part of a huge company. I felt that very much at Apple. And, you know, when Apple had this huge success that I'd never sought, I just wanted other engineers to respect my mind and my thinking. When successful, three of us had infinite money. And I didn't feel good about it because I never went after that. So I looked around and I sold some stock before IPO, pre-IPO, to all the employees of the company. They're all working for the same company. And each one of them got basically a house out of that. And I gave huge amounts of my stock to early other people. What is a founder? It's an early person. And yeah, you can go back to the movie where Steve Jobs refused to give this one early guy any stock. And the guy who was playing me, which was Josh Gad, had read my book. And he wanted to put in the fact that I had done it, but they wouldn't do it in that movie. But anyway, that's the way I think. I did not want that wealth. I didn't want to lead that high up life. So I just put it into museums and arts groups and things like that. In the city I was born in, San Jose, California. And thank you. And the city of San Jose named a street after me, Woz Way. It's a great street, goes past important things. So I don't know, it's not the sort of thing you buy or you seek wealth for.
If you were to start a business today, a new company, which area of technology would you pick?
Which what?
Which area of technology?
Which AI technology?
Area of technology. What type of technology would you focus on?
If I were going into business today, it's very different than back then. I always look back when I was starting, and if I had a piece of advice to myself, rob a bank. I could have had a few other little choices with a little extra money to move things faster. But starting a business today, when I look at technology, it's what you're good at already. Whatever you're good at is what you value and what your passion to learn more and more and be better at. And would it be, it might be creating aspects like social webs that aren't owned by anybody, aren't controlled. Kind of like Bitcoin's not controlled by anyone. And it's just all the different people running their software work out all the details and friendships and all that, and works just as well as, say, Facebook. That's probably where I might go, or I might want to, because that helps undo the thing I spoke about earlier. The companies control you. You buy a car maybe, and it's all set up working nicely, and then they have an update. Everything moved, and your hands used to learn where to go. Even on a phone, your hands learn where to go, and the update, why did they change it so much? It was fine. And maybe I'd want to find a way around that a little bit. Back to some of the older principles. You buy something, you own it, you set it up, nobody changes it on you. Even to this day, I want to own my own things. Every time I hear songs that I want to get, which is, I love to go to concerts with my wife dozens a year, but when I hear a song I want, I will still go online and purchase it for money.
Yeah.
And then I can share that song with my family or my wife, but I don't like to just stream it and say, oh, I'm just on a streaming service. And no, I have my list of songs that I bought because I like them and I know what they are. Yeah.
After you developed the Apple II computer, you didn't stop innovating because you came up with the universal remote controller in the late 80s, which you commercialized through a brand new company called Cloud9. Let me ask you a question. Was it harder to come up with the product and sell it outside an established company such as Apple? Did the experience feel different?
Okay. Well, the Apple II computer involved an awful lot of projects right away to connect it to printers, newer kinds of printers. The floppy disk was an incredible design, so you could run a program. I did one for European, the PAL television system. It was one of the favorite jobs of my life, and I did one for the Air Apple that talked from right to left, and certain letters caused it to add ones at the end of a word. That was a weird one. But I loved all those projects. Now, and we were getting into, what were we after? What was
the universal remote controller and Cloud9.
Oh, the remote control. Yes, of course. I'm sitting around Apple. Well, I had an unusual situation in my home. In some of the early Apple days, Apple had made it, but everybody had a remote control for their television and a remote control for their VCR. And I had a Laserdisc. Not many people in the United States bought Laserdiscs, but that was another remote control. And I loved my Laserdisc. And then there was no satellite TV yet, but I built one of those big, huge dishes in my yard, pointed it up, and I bought a receiver that could aim the TV and pinpoint a channel from a guy in Canada with another remote control. No hi-fi, only one hi-fi in the world had a remote control, and it just happened to be the hi-fi I had, a Bang & Olufsen in those days. 5 remotes. And I said, why don't you just make them into one? And so I didn't leave Apple. They say I left Apple. I did go off on the side to do this little company, a startup company, to build the universal remote control. But I was still on Apple's paycheck, still loyal to Apple, still doing some things for Apple. And the control that I dreamed of was like a computer in your hand. It was like an Apple II in your hand and assigning codes to buttons that would operate your equipment. But what it would do is you could take a remote control for your TV and point it at my device, and it would learn the code. It would watch the infrared signals and learn the code. Then you could point one from the satellite receiver and push a few buttons, and it would learn all the codes. And then you could push one button, and it beeps out beep, 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 all the codes from the different devices, and gets to the channel you want. It was a really beautiful device. Loved it. On the way, we even came up with another little side project. You know, sometimes you're working on something, and another idea occurs to you. The idea that occurs to us is we've gotten very good at receiving infrared signals, and we've gotten very good at transmitting them at high power, so you didn't have to aim your control precisely. It kind of pointed anywhere. So we made a little tiny device that cost very little, and clipped onto any remote control and amplified it. So your existing remote control that you had to point precisely, you now didn't even care where you pointed it. It worked. And that was called the Tyrone. So I had a lot of fun doing these projects.
That's great. We're going to get some questions from the floor. So please raise your hand and let me see if I can find our colleague with the microphone over there. So maybe this woman over here. First one. The woman, sorry.
Thank you. Hello?
Hi.
Hi. It's an honor to see you in person, so thank you for being here. You said that we are trying to mimic the human brain, but really this is the only thing that separates us from machines. So why are we trying to recreate the thing that gives us creativity, and don't you have fears about that?
Well,
thank you.
I don't know if first of all, the machines, this idea if a machine replaces a human, I'm glad we're not there yet. I hope it never happens. But if a company started up across the street from Apple, and instead of humans, they just had computers talking to computers, if it was more economics wins. That's a scary thought, where the humans go. But then, you'd have to have a world where an upper computer that's like the president of the world directs some other computers, who direct other computers like managers, who direct all the equipment that goes around, right down to digging ores out of the earth. Everything on computers, how many hundreds of years or thousands of years would it take to change our total infrastructure? But the machines are not intelligent yet. We still haven't found the formula. We don't know how to make a brain yet. So I just don't think it's a worry at all. I think everything we're doing trying to make a brain. There are people trying to figure out the formula, pretty much to get to AGI like we have today. They've been working on that. And that doesn't mean they're trying to get rid of humans. If the computers ever replace we humans, here's what it would be. The computers do all the work. And we get our clothing, and we get our education, and we get our food, and we get our family vacations, and we don't have to do a thing, work. Wait a minute. That means we're like the family dog. We're a pet. We're a pet with everything taken care of. How wonderful. Well, if I'm going to be a pet, I decided, how would I want to be treated? I started getting my dogs filet steaks and rotisserie chicken. But if the computers ever get rid of people, replace people, they better not replace the dogs. I can say that.
One more question. Who wants to ask? What is the mic? Do you have the mic? Okay. Maybe here, first row? You.
I'll go back a little more on the last answer, which is,
yes.
The problem is we can't stop others from trying to substitute for the human brain.
Yep.
We can't stop it if it happens, but we can certainly be aware of it and watch for it and pledge to ourselves. You make a pledge to yourself, you never break a promise that's to yourself, that you won't work in that kind of thing. Yeah.
We're going to go to this question here.
Thank you very much. So over the past few days that we've been here, we've been hearing a lot of good news. And one of the things that have shocked me, and I wanted, as one of the first personal computer builders, how do you feel about quantum computers? So one of the views that we have shown us is that maybe to build a quantum computer, you need a whole new computer built. And that's something that maybe you can enlighten us, having built one yourself before.
So I believe the question was about quantum computers.
Yes, that maybe we need to build one new computer, different to the traditional ones.
Quantum computers have some incredible promise, but we just haven't made them work or usable yet for us. Maybe that'll happen. You can't say it'll never happen. So all these promises take so long and don't come to fruition. You start to wonder where's it really going to make us stay. I'm not an expert on quantum computers, but I certainly think that let's say they improved the speed of today's computers. Let's say they improved the memory storage, kind of along the lines of the book Singularity, that computers increase their storage exponentially, they increase their processing abilities, and they equal the brain by a certain date. And maybe quantum computers can go far beyond where today's electronic computers go. And that is, that's good. Why? Well, we talk about, I mean, it's not really taking over the world too well, but things like the metaverse, where you can turn your head and be in a world, a whole different world, anywhere. But if you want high resolution, the way the eye sees, you know, a little 4K resolution camera, and another 10 times around, and 10 times this way, 100 times the resolution of today's high quality video, that's a lot more resolution. We need bandwidth that we need, and processing ability in computers. So it might be used for that. An alternative to quantum computing is photonic computing. It may get here someday. It hasn't for all the decades I've watched it. But in photonic computers, okay, you think electrons go through chips. Electricity is what runs the chips that are in your phone. Wait a minute. Electrons don't go at the speed of light. It's a wave, an electron wave that's much slower than the speed of light. Photons actually do go at the speed of light. So what if we could make logic elements in computers that make decisions and or decisions, just like a light switch? That's all today's computers are based on that. And or, and it has inversion, like a blue light comes in, red light comes out, red light comes in, blue light comes out, whatever your modulation scheme is. And you need amplifiers too along the way. We're so close to having all those things makeable onto a chip, and that would speed chips up hugely as well. So I hope something comes that gives us more in our lives. It's fun, if nothing else, to watch all the increases and what they make possible.
I think we have time for one more question. So let's roll the mic, if I may. Let's roll the mic over here, so this side has a chance as well to ask. Maybe he, who is very keen, over there, in the middle.
Well positioned.
It's so full today. Hi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wozniak, for your inspiring words. My question was the following. We have seen in recent years some prominent tech stars like Sam Altman in OpenAI or Arabin Srinivas in Perplexity. Do you envision yourself in this kind of tech stars?
I need a repeat of the question. I still get the echo no matter.
Yeah.
Do you think?
We have seen some prominent tech stars like Sam Altman in OpenAI and Arabin Srinivas with Perplexity. And my question was if you kind of reflect yourself in these kind of persons that are rising in the tech ecosystem?
If you think of yourself as a tech star in nowadays terms.
Oh, I definitely think of myself as a tech star back when it was important. Things had to start somewhere. They had to start somewhere. These days, I'm not a developer, so I'm behind on people that are doing current development. All I develop is just little personal projects on my Raspberry Pi. But I do it for fun, just like I did back then. So, thank you.
Well, I think that's all the time that we have today. Thank you so much.
In life, this is what you have to study. I admired what he did, so I wanted to be an engineer like he. But he would express, you know, social and political different spectrums. And I only decided, he never said you should be one way or another. Always let us choose from our own education, and I was very thankful for that. So when I had my own children, I raised them the same way. I did not put my values on them. I let them find them among friends and all like that. Now around 4th grade, they tested our IQ. And mine was over 200, but my parents never told me.
Oh, wow.
I am so thankful that they never told me. I just wanted to be normal, in the middle, like other kids. I didn't want to skip grades in school. And I became very shy at a certain age, and the shyness is probably why I'm here today. When I became shy, I don't like to deal with other people. I don't like to get in conflicts, arguments, or anything. And I just want to be quiet. And in my own time, I don't want to study the things everyone else is studying, because then you'll learn the same things a million people learn. And I decided it was try to go off and find things nobody else is doing. Back in those days, computers was a farther out word than rocket scientist. And there were no books on how to make a computer. What made them? And I found a little journal here and there and learned about ones and zeros and binary, and I learned about other storage mechanisms. And I started playing on paper with a pencil on paper, designing computers and computer-like things in my spare time, largely for science fairs, which are not a school project. I had no friends that did it with me, no parents, no teachers doing this with me. I would just go in my bedroom and work on it with a pencil and paper, trying to teach myself how would you design a computer out of the lumber of the day, the simple chips that existed back then. And actually by 10 years old, I got a ham radio license. Back in those old days, if there was a disaster in the world, like a hurricane or tornado or something, an island might get shut down, and the only communication would be ham radio operators sending messages both by speech and by Morse code keys, telegraph keys. And I read a book where the heroes were ham radio operators, and I said, oh my gosh, you cannot get a driver's license at 10 years old, but you can get a ham radio license. So I studied a lot of stuff, a lot of mathematical formulas, a lot of rules and regulations, and got my ham radio license at 10 years old. And I was proud of that. My parents bought me, it must have cost $1,000 or more of today's dollars. They bought me a receiver for that much and a transmitter for that much. They came as a box full of parts.